my smart scale body shamed me this morning. I got home from the PCT thru hike about a month ago, which is when I weighed myself last, and I finally stepped on the scale again. I've gained 10 pounds, and you know, my thru hiker hunger is still there, but I'm starting to curb my appetite and starting to work out again. And my scale says, "Is this you? You've gained quite a bit of weight recently." I'm just like, wow, someone had to have programmed the software to say that. You know, I was like, whatever, dude. Anyway, I'm frozen. If you don't know me already, I thru hiked the PCT this year in 2024, and I'm ready to go over my post-trail gear. I think a series like this is very beneficial to those that are thinking about thru hiking in later years, kind of see what gear has worked or not has worked for other people, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Let's kick this off with shoes. Now, I started with a pair of Topo Athletics. I love this brand, love this company, and I started with their higher cushion model with the Topo Athletic Ultra Venture 3s. Now, I wore those for about 300 miles, and then I tried a different shoe in the Topo Athletic Mountain Racer 3s. I kind of went back and forth between these two shoes because I couldn't decide which one I liked better. Ultimately, I decided to go with the Mountain Racer shoes for a couple reasons. For one, the tread is way better. The lugs is way better. They're firmer. They last longer than the Ultra Venture 3s. And also, for whatever reason, these shoes kept me on my toes more and away from like sinking into my heels, if that makes any sense. So I could step faster. They had pretty good tread for walking over crunchy snow, maybe a little bit of ice. But when I needed extra traction, I would bring my Catula micro spikes. Now these are getting thrown out the second I get done with this video. These spikes have worn down to nubs. I use these a lot, and these are one of those things that I really highly recommend you don't go into the Sierra without it. In fact, I wouldn't even hit San Jacinto without these, which is where I first encountered my first set of snow. Now, I do want to make a point saying that I really like the Catula brand micro spikes. I met many people with Hill Sound micro spikes, namely Bigfoot and High Five. Bigfoot, my hiking partner through the whole trail pretty much, his Hill Sound micro spikes actually fell apart in 2 different places the first day that he used them, and I heard similar things from my hiking buddy High Five and multiple other complaints against Hill Sound throughout the entire trail. Every time somebody talked about Hill Sound, it was never, yeah, they really worked well for me. It was always, they sucked. So keep that in mind. I don't know if they're going through a whole bunch of quality control issues or not, but they're a pretty good brand from what I heard before, but I'm glad I brought the Catula micro spikes with me. Let me also mention that my Sierra entry date was a little earlier than most. I went in on May 22nd. First couple hundred miles were continuous snow, but then it got really, really patchy, and we would only see it on the north face sides of the mountains. But going through the passes, I didn't feel like I ever needed crampons, which I saw a lot of people have. I thought the micro spikes were completely adequate for the technical terrain that I had to deal with. I would also sometimes use these walking across the streams just for added traction, or the bridges that were iced over. You're definitely going to want some kind of traction device, but my thing is, micro spikes you can actually walk in the dirt with or on the hiking trails between patches of snow and not have to worry about bending a spike. With crampons, you got to take those things off almost every time if you're walking on rocks or dirt or, you know, really any kind of trail. So just keep that in mind. All right, moving up, these are my socks. These are the Darn Tough Vermont quarter cushion hiking socks, and I always had 2 pairs, so I would rotate them you know, every other day, every day, depending on how I felt. I went through 4 pairs of these things, and that is 3 more pairs than I did on my AT thru hike with similar mileage. And I attribute that to the fact that I got a whole bunch of debris and sand in my shoe. In fact, I got so much sand in my shoe that you can kind of see these heel cups are having issues with. Now, I finally figured out what was causing all these, and I ended up going with gaiters, I think sometime in Oregon, and these actually made my shoes last an extra 200 miles. So I think this is pretty much happening to everybody out there. I constantly had to take my shoes off and dump them out from all the debris, but I think the gaiters would work well. Just be aware that you're gonna go through socks like crazy out there. Now that might be better with the gaiters on, I assume it would be, but just keep that in mind. There's a lot of thorny bushes in the desert section especially that they just rip holes in your pants. Speaking of pants, I actually didn't wear pants. I wore a pair of New Balance Accelerate shorts, and these are the shorts that have an athletic stretchy liner inside. Absolutely loved this piece of gear, loved the liner, so comfortable. I think one of these pairs would have lasted the whole trail, but I screwed up somewhere in Idyllwild or Lake Tahoe perhaps, and I set the dryer to high heat accidentally. So when I came back, there was a whole bunch of little holes starting to form in the liner, and I ended up replacing it shortly after that. But New Balance Accelerate worked out great. They got a drawstring in the front and actual pockets that you can put your phone in or your wallet when you're in town, so you don't have to carry a fanny pack around or something like that. But that was great. For my shirt, I started out in the desert with the REI Sahara Sun Hoodie. And man, oh man, I absolutely loved this piece of gear. Now, unfortunately, it did end up falling apart and I replaced it by the time I got to Lake Tahoe, but I felt like it was worth every penny that I paid for it in the desert. I never got too hot in the desert, and I never got too cold in the Sierra because I could always put my thumbs through the thumb holes. I could put the hood up, cinch it down, and pair it with all the other stuff that I was bringing, which we'll get into in a second. But great sun hoodie. It offers UV protection as well. When I swapped it out, I just went with a Champion Vapor shirt. I've been using these for 10 years, and this is my shirt of choice. It's real cheap, 20 bucks on Amazon, I believe. And that really regulated temperatures well, even in Northern California where we experienced 110-degree weather. I brought a base layer set of pants just in case I got cold at night in the desert or the Sierra, but I never ended up actually wearing these. There might have been like one night, and I think I was hot and ended up taking them off anyway. Again, I started April 12th. Your mileage may vary here, but this was a pair of Smartwool 250s. I just thought they were overkill for whatever else I was wearing. Speaking of sleep stuff, let me get over through this sleep stuff here. I wore a pair of Smartwool liners as my sleep sock. I don't think I would ever bring these again. This is what I've just been using and what I'm used to. These allow your feet to breathe a little better while you dry your socks out, but in all honesty, after this year, I really didn't have very many nights where I had socks that were wet, and I definitely never had two pairs of socks wet at one time. For a sleep shirt, just to get out of my sweaty clothes, I brought a Champion C9 shirt. Again, Target or Amazon has these cheap. Just get something cheap for a sleep shirt. Really, anything will work. And then I did also bring a buff. The buff didn't come out during the daytime at all. All I did was use it for kind of a daylight sunlight guard over my eyes just so I could sleep a little better. And in the mornings, I would use it as like a skull cap. I would just cinch it down as a skull cap if I needed it. Or I would just put my hoodie up, which we'll get to. And then I just have these pants that I tried hiking with at some point during my hiking career, and I just cut the liner out of these, and now they're just a sleep short. So whatever works. I think these are a pair of Under Armours, but whatever. On those cold, chilly mornings, sometimes it was, 25 to 40 degrees, I would throw on these dance pants, as I like to call them. These are ballerina pants, right? Ballerinas use these to warm up their legs during their warm-ups, and they're a pair of women's pants, but they work surprisingly well as a warm layer. They add 10 degrees easily to your legs. I wore these sleeping if my legs were too cold over the base layers. And they kept me warm and all the wind was out. And these are cheap. You can find them on Amazon. I actually gave my old pair to my buddy Bigfoot, and he ended up keeping them through the whole trail. I was starting to get some holes as I was glissading in the Sierra, but he ended up using them the rest of the trail as well. Let's see. Let's go with two of my favorite pieces of gear here. This is my LightHeart Gear hoodie. It's very similar to like those Melanzana hoodies that you're always seeing everywhere. But you can actually buy these and you don't have to go all the way to Colorado to get it. And you don't need an appointment. You just order it online. LightHeart Gear sends it to your house. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And these are incredibly warm, incredibly soft. One of my favorite pieces of gear out on the trail. It has a cinchable hood. They have thumb holes in the sleeves. And they have a nice big kangaroo pocket, or if you don't want a kangaroo pocket, you can opt to not have it as well. But this was my active layer on those cold mornings or hanging around camp, and I pretty much kept this on the entire time I was in the Sierra, and it was completely warm. When we got to Oregon, I did swap out from the microgrid fleece to a material called Alpha Direct. It's like a knitted hoodie, if I had to call it something. It's very, very breathable. It also has thumb holes in the kangaroo pocket. You can also cinch down the hood. A lot of people had these out there on the trail. Not necessarily this brand, but I was really pleased with the quality of LightHeart Gear. I could feel like I could, not baby this thing and it wouldn't tear. And, I wore this a lot, especially in the mornings. I wore a pair of Z-Packs. They're not Z-Packs, maybe you can get them on Z-Packs website. They're just a pair of possum down gloves. They're very, very delicate. Your trekking poles will put holes in them, but the few times that I need them, they were there. They're very warm, they're very light, and I didn't feel like I needed really anything else. For layering purposes, if it was really, really cold, I had just a 3-season down jacket that I just kept at the bottom of my pack. I rarely ever brought this out. Say 1 or 2, maybe even 3 days this came out with me while I was packing up in the morning. And this is just a Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer, and it's just the down jacket, very light down jacket. Usually when I had that on, I would also pair it with my Enlightened Equipment Visp rain jacket, which we only had about 2 hours of rain, so I basically used this as an extra warm layer and for wind protection. Sometimes the hoodie was too hot, so I would just put this on, or sometimes I would just wear this in the morning if I knew I was going to start hiking pretty quick and I didn't want to put any of my fleece on, and that was just fine. Finally, well, I think there's sunglasses too, but I threw them out, but we'll talk about them. Many people, and I can't tell you how many, tons of people said this was not enough sun protection for me. And I tend to disagree with those people. I felt between the sun hoodie and this outdoor research hat, which you can get on Amazon, I'll have links in the video description below, by the way. I felt this was completely adequate for all kinds of weather. You know what I mean? The sun, it was great. I mean, I never felt like I was exposed on my face at all. I never got sunburnt. I definitely used sunscreen, but I felt like this hat was fine. People wanted me to get it like a sombrero. People wanted me to get these things that like cover your cheeks, and I was like, I am just not all about all that stuff on my face. I just want a hat, you know what I mean? And this outdoor research hat worked very well. It's adjustable. It's almost all mesh. Just this little top on the top, this piece of fabric right here is the only thing that's not mesh. So very comfortable. I think I wore that thing every single day. And then I just went online and found a 2-pack of cheap polarized sunglasses. And the one pair, it was scratched to all hell and back by the time I got to Washington, but it worked, and it worked very well. I would definitely recommend getting a pair of polarized glasses, as I did find the polarization helped with snow blindness in the Sierra. You're going to want sunglasses in the Sierra and the desert for sure. After that, you can probably pitch them, but they were so light and so convenient, I just kept them the whole trail. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I could have possibly have worn while I was out there, but I think that's about it. I never got cold enough where I wanted my warmer winter jacket. I felt like this layering system was absolutely perfect, and honestly, I really wouldn't change a thing except for wearing gaiters early on. Seriously. You may hear a lot of people say that you don't need gaiters on the PCT, but if you want to extend the life of your socks in your shoes, I would highly, highly recommend you using gaiters early on. It also helps cleaning off your feet at night because our feet were black every single night, and it became a chore to wipe them off every night. And sometimes we had limited water, and so we had to use that water very sparingly. But I think that's about it. If you have any questions about the gear you saw, go ahead and comment below, and I'll be happy to get back to you. If it's a topic that you're after that you want me to talk about, I'll be happy to either answer it in the upcoming QA series. Again, leave me a comment below. Or if it warrants an entire video, hey, be happy to talk about that as well. I'm already going to be doing a video comparing and contrasting the AT versus the PCT because I've already got hundreds of people asking me to do that, and I plan to deliver. So, hey everybody, thanks for watching. Don't be like my scale, don't body shame people, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.